Hey everyone, and welcome to the results video for the first round of the 2025 Joker Cup. In the Joker Cup, all players have been divided into 8 groups, and within each group, the players in it compete against each other. And each group has been given a certain ride they have to build with a random theme and also a modifier to make the game interesting. In this video, I will show you the results for each group. Right, in Group A, all the players had to create a car ride. They had to build it in a glitch theme, and they had to have at least 10 of every staff type in the park. Now here you can see the entry from Infinite Sadness, who got 4th place in the group. He created this monster truck ride, which passes through this landscape. It has this black water with these waterfalls. Now this is made to look a little bit glitchy. We can also look behind here. Here's some missing tiles and stuff. You can look inside here. So I assume that's the extent to which this entry is a bit glitchy. Now we also have some staff members walking around, but most of the staff members are actually stuck here on this path in the sky. Hell is other stuff. Not really sure what that means. But yeah, this entry got 4th place in the group. So sadly, Infinite Sadness will not move on to the next round. But it was a nice attempt. Alright, then in 3rd place in Group A, we have the entry from Ricardo Wodo. He created this building. In the story it said something about this being an ordinary building in an ordinary place, an ordinary road around it. We can see some traffic here. But then, if we rotate the map, you can see there's lots of chaos behind the building. Yeah, lots of very glitchy rides here. You can also see the car ride move throughout here. Yeah, definitely very glitchy. You can also see the required staff members walking around here. Yeah, just adding to the chaos. So yeah, a very chaotic entry, and I really like what Ricardo Wodo did here on the front. Alright, then 2nd place in the group goes to Wes. So he moves on to the next round in the tournament. He created this, the front of these buildings here with some really nice signs and really nice looking facades. So that's really great. But then if we look here in the back, well, I kind of like the previous entry. There's just lots of glitching happening here in the back. He used a weird color palette, which makes these colors here look really glitchy. And of course there's these cars also moving around. I think these cars moved through one of these reverser track pieces, so they multiplied. Yeah, it's just a lot of chaos back here. I think this is a really nice take on the glitch theme from Wes, and these buildings look fabulous. Alright, and then the winner of the group, that's actually my entry. I tried to create something to look like something from the movie Tron. If you don't know the movie Tron, in it you have these light cycles, basically some kind of motorcycles, which draw a long line behind them. And actually other riders will crash if they bump into those lines. Yeah, I wanted to do something like that. So yeah, I figured a way to actually make these vehicles draw this glitchy line behind them. I did it by making these ground tiles invisible. And yeah, if we move the map around, you can see there's that it looks really glitchy. Now, it's also funny when you actually move a window in front. You can actually draw in it, kind of like you could on an old computer. But yeah, for the staff members in the entry, I put them all on these grandstands here, and actually put them in the drowning animation to make it look like they're cheering. But yeah, I thought it was really funny to make this entry, and I'm happy that I got 1st place in the group. Alright, then we move on to Group B, and in Group B, every player had to create a disco coaster. They had a built-in hell theme, and they were not allowed to use any custom scenery items. So they had to work with the base game objects and the expansion objects. Yeah, ATN made this a disco coaster. Just your standard disco coaster track. Yeah, and here there's this skeleton sculpture. Looks like he's crying lava. Also this big pentagram behind it. Station, really simple, just kind of a blocky building. Yeah, I do like all these guests queuing up here or walking around here like zombies. Yeah, I guess that's what you would do when you had to walk around in hell. So yeah, it's a pretty simple entry. I think it could have used maybe a little bit more decoration, but I do like the way this disco coaster looks. Alright, the next entry is from Marcel. Now I will just briefly turn on the sound for this entry. There's this really loud door effect. I'm gonna turn it down. But yeah, it has this really loud door effect. He made an invisible ride here, which slams into a portcullis door and just makes this really loud noise. Now, there's also normally it is metal music playing in the background. It's one of the rock themes. And there's also this band playing here. But yeah, lots of fire, lots of skeletons, and this insane disco coaster. He decided to create an own layout for this ride. Not something you would normally see, but I think it actually looks great. And it's definitely, yeah, definitely something that Marcel would make. Alright, and then in second place in Group B, we have the entry from Daurson, which means Daurson moves on to the next round. Daurson made this disco coaster. Not really sure why he used this track. I think the hybrid coaster track generally looks nicer. But still, I think it's a beautifully decorated disco coaster. Kind of looks like a big monster here with jaws, yeah, which is gonna try and bite this disco coaster. I think that looks great. I also really like how Daurson did the lava here, and these buildings also look wonderful. Yeah, not too many different blocks used for these buildings, but I think they work in a great way, like this. Alright, and in first place in the group we have this entry from Low Poly. And Low Poly decided to theme his entry around one of our members, 733737. He always makes very abstract and brightly colored entries, and Low Poly decided to try and emulate something that 7337 would make. So we have this disco coaster, which is actually a curved variant, which I think is pretty creative. I quite like the way this is done. Yeah, the guests also have bright red faces. This is probably one of the custom palettes that 737 made. Station made out of these gumdrops and cola bottles. Yeah, I think it's a really creative choice of objects, and I quite like how abstract it looks here. Really nice job. Alright, and then we move on to Group C. In Group C, all the players had to create a Virginia reel. It had to be in an underwater theme, and the vehicles had to teleport somewhere in the track. And here we have the entry from 73. 73 made this Virginia reel, which travels up this big lift hill here at quite a high speed, and then it drops all the way down to over here. It actually has a little teleport section here through these tornadoes, and then finally it wraps around here and then slams into the station at high speed. Yeah, I think with this high speed, probably 73 could have done a little bit more with the layout rather than having it come at an abrupt stop here at the station. Now, I do quite like how 73 decorated the edges here. You can see some of these dinosaurs here in the void color. I think that's pretty nice. Although maybe I would have liked to see a little bit more of that around the whole edge, instead of just in these tiny spots. But yeah, overall I quite like the atmosphere here. Alright, then in third place in the group we have the entry from Matt M. And Matt M likes to make big rides. And yeah, there's this huge Virginia reel. Not really sure what's going on here. I think this land here is actually at the maximum map height. Not sure, but definitely looks like it. Even from this zoom level, I cannot really zoom or go to the top. The game won't let me move the camera up more. But yeah, there's this Virginia reel, which is huge. And I believe it's called the Seaweed Explorer. And the story was something about it lets you explore seaweed in murky water, which definitely sounds like a dream. But yeah, it's just basically just this whole long track. There's a few teleports in the ride, and yeah, it's definitely a sight to behold. Alright, then in second place in the group, we have this entry from Max Arceus, so he moves on to the next round. He created this big whirlpool here. Well, on top here you can see this ship. It's dumping toxic goods into the water, and this whirlpool takes everything to the bottom. Now, you should definitely go and check out this entry for yourself. There's a link to my website in the video description, and there you can download all these entries. But yeah, if you watch this entry with sound on, with some music on, the music is actually pretty trippy, because it comes from this ride, which is in control failure, so it's broken down. Yeah, it's actually pretty nice to listen to. But yeah, overall, I think this is just a really nice entry from Max Arceus. It looks like he actually turned these vehicles into smoke, but he still made them move around. Probably something which you can only do with a plugin to change these vehicles into smoke that still moves. Very interesting how Max Arceus did it. But yeah, I think it looks wonderful. Alright, and then the first place in this group is for levels, also with an insanely high score. He scored a really high, 9.25. He created this beautiful scene. So it looks like this big temple, also with a mountain on the side of it. And there's, of course, this Virginia aerial which travels through this entry. And also several caves where it just teleports through to the other side. You can also see these tornadoes at the locations where it teleports. But yeah, I think this is a very beautiful entry. Also love the backdrop, also the water on top, which really makes it look like it's underwater. There's this guy here that says, "I don't like this job." But yeah, I think it's just a wonderful looking entry. I really love the way that the levels made this castle. Alright, then we move on to Group D. In Group D, all the players had to create a spinning wild mouse in a post-apocalyptic theme, and they had to have at least 50 pieces of litter or vomit on the map. Yeah, some of these modifiers are crazy. Anyway, here we have the entry from Jandaman227. He actually got a really high score, but all the entries in this group got a really high score, so it was tough to win in Group D. Anyway, Jandaman actually didn't create something in the post-apocalyptic theme, but he actually depicted a scene from a movie in which the apocalypse happens. Now, the name of the movie eludes me. It was in a story, but I totally forgot. But I'm pretty sure someone will type the name of the movie now in the comments or in the chat. Anyway, I think it's a beautiful looking spinning wild mouse coaster. I also love how he did the litter. He actually used the litter to make this Hollywood sign in the movie. That's pretty clever. Now, there's quite some gruesome scenes over here. Yeah, looks like a beam coming from the sky. Maybe it's aliens attacking. I'm not sure. It looks like lots of blood over here. And there's also this chasm which opened up in the ground and someone falling in. But yeah, I'm definitely going to give this movie a watch whenever I can remember the title again. Alright, then third place in this group is from P2. I believe he created this entry very late, but I think it actually looks really nice. It's actually a reference to the Mad Max movie. Yeah, if you've seen the movie, you may recognize some of the stuff here. There's also lots of guys in white here who actually have vomited all over the place. It's a pretty nasty scene. But yeah, I actually really like how P2 created all these canyons here. And there's also this spinning wild mouse coaster which travels all over this canyon and through these caves. I think it's really nice to see these trains move about here. And I really like how P2 decorated his entry with all these nice rocks and plants. So yeah, a really nice job. Alright, then second place in this group goes to Supranormal, so he moves on to the next round. He created this map where all the humans have been turned into zombies. And well, yeah, the zombies still wanted to experience some fun because they were really bored with there being no more humans to affect. So they actually decided to create their own coaster. And well, it's a pretty deadly coaster, but since they're already dead, it doesn't really affect them. Yeah, it definitely looks like a pretty extreme spinning wild mouse. I do think maybe there could have been one or two more block sections, because at some points, like over here, the train stops while it waits for the next block section to clear. So maybe there could have been some improvement there. But yeah, I think this building here just looks incredible. Yeah, I also love seeing all these zombies walk around here. Maybe he could have decreased their energy a bit to make them look more like zombies, make them walk around slower. But yeah, I think this is just a wonderful looking entry. It just looks amazing. Alright, and then here we have the winner of the group. This is the entry from Onda23. And he created an entry where the world above ground was too toxic to live in. But the people with them living underground still wanted to experience some thrills from the old days. So yeah, here you can actually see a simulator for a coaster that's above ground. You can see some see-through vehicles moving around. I think that's just such a clever idea. So you could imagine these guests are actually experiencing this ride that's above ground. But yeah, these destroyed buildings, they just look so great. There's so many nice details on them. And yeah, this underground scene also looks great. And I love how big of a mess the people have made of it. And that's where all the litter comes in. Also this little campfire over here. Yeah, it's just a wonderful entry to see. And definitely deserves winner of the group. Alright, then we have arrived at Group E. In Group E, all the players had to create a dark ride. And they had to create it in a space theme. And it had to be a one-angle park. So yeah, with one-angle park, I mean that the players could only, or the map should only really work from one angle. So you can also see at the back angle there's some stuff that you normally would not be allowed to see. But that's how one-angle parks work. So only one angle really has to look nice. So I think the players were pretty fortunate to get this modifier, since it's definitely easier to work with. So here we have the 4th place of the group. This one was made by Danger Knife, who's a new member on my Discord, or at least this is the first time he joined the contest. He created an entry based on Logan's Run. It's a movie from the 80s, I believe, or from the 70s, not really sure. I don't really see how it's space themed, to be honest. So that's probably also why it's gotten a bit of a lower score. But I do like the way this looks. It's pretty nice to see these vehicles go around. And yeah, it's always nice to see new players also joining in these contests. Now, before I show you who got 3rd place in this group, there's something I have to tell you, which is that there was a tie for 2nd and 3rd place in this group. So all the votes from all the different people who voted, it all amounted to the same score for 2nd and 3rd place. So in this case, I decided to cast a tiebreaker with my own vote for this entry. Now, my own votes for 2nd and 3rd place were only 0.5 points apart, so it was really close. So without further ado, let's see who got 3rd place. Alright, in 3rd place we have the entry from Horror Girl. Now, Horror Girl decided to make a dark ride in the form of a coaster. Now, I think this looks really nice. Probably some of Horror Girl's best work. I think this building looks amazing. I believe it's a reference to a movie as well. So the coaster is called the Xenomorph. I think it looks really nice. I love the colors in this entry, but also the structure is just wonderful. Yeah, other than that, not really much to say. You can see some aliens here, some other equipment, some staff scenes here. Yeah, it's just really fun to see. Really nice work from Horror Girl. Alright, then in 2nd place is the entry from Scoop. And Scoop decided to create a part of, what's the name again? Space Mountain. Here you can see some of these vehicles traveling around. Now, since it's a one-angle park, there's also some stuff happening here at the back, which you're not supposed to see. I think it's quite fun to see how this actually works. But yeah, I think it's a pretty nice structure. I think it's really nicely decorated. You can also see some of these animatronic astronauts jumping around. And yeah, I think it's just really well done by Scoop. Alright, and then next up with a monster score is the entry from Madazog. And Madazog created an entry which I believe is inspired by the same movie which the entry from Horror Girl was inspired by. But yeah, there's definitely a lot more content in this one. But yeah, there's this huge building here with lots of different layers, lots of stuff happening. And you can tell Madazog put a lot of time into this entry. I mean, the structure of this building just looks incredible. I believe the ride here in this entry is actually a mini golf ride. There's probably not actually any holes. But yeah, you can see some guests walk around here. Oh, there's actually an invisible hole here. But yeah, the amount of details here is just stunning. Yeah, there's just so much cool stuff to see here wherever you look. Lots of machinery, lots of equipment. This looks like some kind of eggs, which you could also see in the Horror Girls entry. Yeah, I'm definitely go and check out this entry for yourself. It's just incredible to watch. Alright, then we have arrived in Group F. And in Group F, all the players had to create a steel wild mouse. They had to build it in a North Korea theme. And the ride must have at least one inversion. There you can see the entry from Herbert. And yeah, I believe his story was something that the great leader modified their Volar ride, which is in their country, and tried to make it in something which is actually enjoyable for their riders. So yeah, it's some kind of steel wild mouse, but now it actually has these inversions. I think they actually look great. I also love how Herbert created these supports. They're also fantastic looking. I also really like this spinning tower here. That's also really nicely done. Now there's of course also this North Korean flag here. Not actually sure if there's something underground. Let's quickly check. Not really. There are just some shops and stalls. So maybe it would have been nice if there was a little Easter egg in the bottom, just to have a little bit more content in the entry. But still, I think this is a wonderful looking coaster. Alright, next up is the entry from Mega Zubat. Mega Zubat created this big wild mouse. It actually has trains with 2 vehicles. And of course also this loop. No, these vehicles don't actually have sprites for loops. But I think it still looks, it still works well enough. Here we can see a North Korean palace. And this entry I believe is called something like a Happy Coaster in Happy Land. But then when you look underground, you can see some guests who are actually probably not too happy. And actually looks like some kind of prison camp that's underground. Yeah, pretty gruesome details here, but I think that's what makes this entry more North Korean. Alright, then second place in this group goes to Banan Fanat, who then moves on to the next round. Now, he also created a really nice looking wild mouse coaster. It actually also has this integrated, or it's integrated into this palace, which I think looks really nice. It's a really nice mix of objects here. I think these pagoda walls go really well with the pirate wall behind it, with this window. They mix together really great. I also really like how Bananfanat did these inversions on the coaster. He made these inline twists around this part of the track. And he used these hybrid coaster vehicles, which definitely have sprites for these inversions. Yeah, I think the coaster looks great, but it's also really nicely decorated. He also had a really long story for the entry, which you will be able to read on the website if you want to check out this entry for yourself. I definitely recommend checking out the story. It's actually great fun to read. Alright, and first place in the group goes to SolX. And SolX created this coaster here on the border of between North Korea and South Korea. can see there's no entry here. There's also all these guards stationed. And yeah, here we have this wild mouse coaster. I quite like the layout. It's nice and small. And then finally here there's a split in the track, and when vehicles arrive here they don't follow the track as they should, but instead they do this jump, and here yeah, an inversion is hidden. Now you don't actually see the coaster do an inversion, so I think that's a bit of a missed opportunity, but if you look at the stats at the right you can see it actually has one inversion. So yeah, if we would make the track visible here, you would see one of these 0 G rolls, one of the new elements you can build in OpenRCT2. Well, you can normally build them on a wild mouse coaster, but yeah, in OpenRCT2 it's definitely possible to create track elements on the rides, which normally they could not do. But yeah, I think it's pretty nicely decorated here. And it's definitely recognizable as the border between the two countries. Nice work. Alright, then we have arrived at Group G. In Group G, all the players had to create a mini-golf, they had to create in a Bones theme, and at least 5 Cool Dude objects had to be on the map. So if you don't know who Cool Dude is, you can see him right here, and he is really cool. Well, N-Sky, or Nietzsche Sky, or whatever his name is these days, he wasn't really inspired, so he quickly threw something together. Well, first he actually created something which was 20 by 20 tiles. I told him that was not allowed, so then he just quickly shrunk it down to an entry that was 10 by 10 tiles. But yeah, there's a mini golf here, there's 5 Cool Dude objects, and for the rest, yeah, it's in this desert, and there's quite some bones strewn around. That's really all there is to this entry, and overall I think it actually looks pretty nice. Alright, next entry is from Michel, and he got 3rd place. He actually got quite a high score, but yeah, the other 2 entries in the group just got a score that was even higher. But yeah, I think this entry was really nice. There's this mini golf here, and guests actually just explode when they reach the end. Yeah, lots of bones here, and what I like best about this entry is that yeah, Michel actually put these Cool Dudes in front of these skeletons here, and actually makes them look like they're fighting these skeletons, which I think is hilarious. I think it's a fun way to use these different objects. Yeah, I think the entry is really nicely decorated. I also really like the ruins here. I think Michel also did a really nice job here. Alright, then 2nd place in the group is from FlickSpy, so he moves on to the next round. And yeah, he created this big Mr. Bones replica. I really like the objects that he chose. For example, this hand here. Yeah, I think this is just a really clever object usage. I think this is one of these canyon pieces or one of these ruins pieces from the South America set. I think it works really well as a hand. So this head is really nicely done. Also the face of the skeleton. Yeah, I think that's just great. I believe the story was something like who knew Mr. Bones was actually powered by minigolf and Cool Dudes. You can see the Cool Dudes here. I guess they are what's animating the Mr. Bones. Now, of course, you can also see some minigolf holes here, which I think also work well as parts of the Mr. Bones character. Yeah, just really cleverly done by FlickSpy, great object usage, and yeah, I think it's just a great entry. Alright, and then we arrive at the winner of the round. This entry was made by Timmy Tuner, and yeah, let's just take a moment to appreciate the work that Timmy Tuner put in here. This is just such incredible work. You can see a monster here, I believe it's called the Destroyer of Worlds. And here we have a guy named The Player, and I believe his job is to save the world and to destroy the Destroyer of Worlds. So there's actually this mini golf here which he has to traverse before finally he will reach the church here. Now this monster here just looks so incredible. I love the way that Timmy Tuner made this big snake here, or this skeleton. That just looks so nice. It consists of all these vehicles. Also the face here just looks insane. No idea how Timmy Tuner all did this, but it's just incredible work. And here we are inside the church. You can see all these cool dudes here in this gruesome scene. If this is a sacrifice, and I believe the player has succeeded in destroying the Destroyer of Worlds before finally he drops down here to his doom. Yeah, just such an incredible entry. It all looks so good, and yeah, this monster that was here also looks incredible. Yeah, just amazing work from Timmy Tuner, and definitely worthy of this insane score that he got. Alright, and then we have arrived at the final group, Group H. And in Group H, all the players had to create a junior coaster in a prison theme, and there had to be at least 5 Mardi Gras dancer objects on the map. Now, we only got 3 entries for this group, as NFEHO didn't submit an entry. So this is the entry from the Cloud QC, who got 3rd place in this group. So sadly, he does not move on to the next round. But yeah, you can see a part of a prison. All these prison objects were used here in this big fence as well. Inside this prison, it looks like they have a junior coaster as well, which uses these cop car vehicles. And there's also all these guests who all look naked for some reason. Maybe it has to do with these Mardi Gras dancer objects, I'm not completely sure. But yeah, I think it actually looks pretty nice, and yeah, it's pretty nicely themed. Alright, and then 2nd place in this group goes to In Error Predicting a Fault. Yeah, you can see this prison over here on this island. And he also had a really cool story, which was kind of like a poem or a song. And yeah, it was about how it started with 5 Mardi Gras dancers, and they all tried to escape from the prison. I believe they all met their demise. I especially like this one here, where you can see these 2 security guards hanging from this Mardi Gras dancer. But there's also some interactive elements on the map. So if you go to the right here, this one's called Activate Sam. So yeah, there's actually a Mardi Gras dancer up in the sky. If you put this one in test mode, you can see that actually a surface-to-air missile gets launched up into the sky to take down this Mardi Gras dancer. Oof. And there's also a ride where we can release a shark to capture the one that escaped here into the water. Let's speed it up a little bit. There's the shark. And it will just circle around this Mardi Gras dancer. But yeah, I think this is a great looking entry. Also some stuff happening down here. But yeah, I can definitely recommend checking this entry out for yourself. And also reading the story on my website. The story was really nice. Alright, and then 1st place in Group H goes to Hobion. And Hobion made a reference to Futurama episode with the, I believe it's what, from an episode with the fembots, where all very tall women or women robots, not really sure what it was again. Yeah, but here you can see Fry. You can see some of the other people from the episode, Zeb Brannigan, some other characters from Futurama. Now, I don't really remember the episode myself. I've probably seen it at some point. But there are lots of references to it. Here it says Death by Snoo Snoo. But overall, even if you haven't seen Futurama, I still think it looks amazing. You have this beautiful foliage here. Also this beautiful mountain here. All these cutouts in the ground, which you can do with some trickery. And here at the bottom there's this big mainframe or big computer. And there's also all these guests walking around here. Here's some more of these Mardi Gras dancers. And of course there's also this junior coaster which travels around the entry. I think the rock work here looks amazing. And yeah, the structure or the supports for the junior coaster also look really nice. Not really much to see from the other angles. Except there's the Planet Express, which has crashed here. But yeah, Hobion got 1st place in this group, so he also moves on to the next round. Alright, all the players that got 1st or 2nd place in their groups move on to the next round. And The next draw will be done soon, where every group will get a new ride to build with a new theme, and they will get 2 modifiers applied for the next round. Alright, if you enjoyed watching these entries, please give this video a like to really help out my channel. I would love to hear in the comments which one of these entries is your favorite, and if you want to see more of these videos and you haven't been subscribed yet, you can do that by clicking the button below. Alright, hope you enjoyed the video. I'll see you again in the next one. See you later.